Hello, my dear friends, operator.starsky here. Today I'm with Conflict Capital Group, Ukrainian analysts. We will talk about you guys just a bit later, okay, because we have some big update coming from Ukraine. First of all, dear viewers, it's a big pleasure to see you. And also, it's a big pleasure to see this beauty on here on the screen. You can see Ukrainian strike on Russian artillery stockpile, which keeps exploding at this very point. And to me, it's of course a big pleasure to see this happening on the territory of the Terrorist Federation. So we can basically congratulate Ukrainian defenders with achieving this. But, my dear friends, today I have special guests here with me, Conflict Capital Group. It's a group of Ukrainian analysts with military background, and generally, whatever I do, whatever video I'm making, I'm always trying to get as much information as possible from these gentlemen, because sometimes I'm able to find answers to some extremely tough questions that I'm not a geopolitical expert. I'm a humble captain. I have no idea. My dear friends, welcome to my channel. It's a big honor and privilege to have you here tonight with us. Can you please introduce yourself to our viewers and say a couple of words about Conflict Capital? What do you guys do?
Yeah, okay, thanks. So, first of all, we need to say that we are the Ukrainian officers. We are currently serving at the Ukrainian Armed Forces, but at the same time, we are the professional analyzers who are working at the international relationships sphere. But now the war, that's why we are defending our country. If we are talking about our past, we were studying to be the professional analyzers. We were studying everything that we need to know about international relationships, affairs, and geopolitics that are surrounding us every day. And then we have created the Ukrainian analyzers community, which, as I understand, you was following before. Um, the main idea was to provide the Ukrainian society with the true information because you, as a captain, when the large scale invasion starts, there was the information mass everywhere. Like every channel, every sort of media was providing a lot of information. It was updating all the time, and you, as the simple person, it was hard to filter it and to understand what's going on, especially. That's why we think that we can use our skills in order to find the information which is appropriate for Ukrainian society, then group it, then analyze, and to give our opinion without some other political things and others. So that was the main idea.
Thank you so much. And just so our viewers could understand, Conflict Capital is a Ukrainian group in the Telegram. They mostly post information, they post their publications and analysis in the Telegram in Ukrainian language, but recently I found out that my friends want to establish an English-speaking platform on the internet. You can find them on the BlueSky. You can also find them on a YouTube channel. They just started their platform. Mostly they're posting on BlueSky and also at the Medium, right?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, so please check out the links in the description and follow, because their information is extremely valuable, I can tell. So one thing I wanted to talk about tonight is recent shift in the American stance in the peace talks between terrorist federation and Ukraine. What was the reason behind it? Because recently, as far as we know, Marco Rubio and Keith Kellogg both stated that basically United States can withdraw or may withdraw from the peace talks if there is no progress reached fast, right, in the upcoming days. At the same time, we all remember that President Trump promised to settle the war in 24 hours and 3 months. Like it's such a simple thing, settling the war between Russian terrorists and Ukrainian defenders. What can be easier? Why did they change their rhetorics? What was the reason behind it?
Yeah, okay. So first thing that you need to understand, and the all viewers who are now watching us, that now we are the viewers of the great diplomatic event, which was in Paris and especially in the United States. You said that now there is the shift in the America's foreign strategy, and you are right because before this week, America was trying to establish the business ties with Russia in order to use Russia as the main thing in this conflict. I mean, Trump understood that easier to make Ukraine do whatever Russia wants than make Russia do what Ukraine wants. And that's why Ukraine all of this time was under the pressure. But this week, we have seen a great diplomatic event in Paris. Also, where Rubio made his statement that United States can withdraw from the negotiation process. And the main thing that you need to understand that this phrase was made for Russia, not for the whole world, because Russia, as you know, they are trying to win as much time as possible because the harsh reality is that Russia is not interested in stopping the war conflicts, because Putin thinks that he can win on the battlefield. From the one point of view, and from the another point of view, he's looking at the statistics, and he see that he has a great budget crisis. He has the revenues of the country are dropping because now the oil price is also dropping. So that's why he needs to negotiate, but he's not ready to take someone's position except Russia's position. And Rubio make this statement in order to make to make Russia understand that they shouldn't play with the USA because they need to take it serious. The United States can just withdraw from the negotiation process. And also, if you think that this is not possible, it is possible. Why so? Because of Trump. We see that this person is very chaotic in some of his actions. 2 months ago, he said that he will end this conflict in 2 days, then in a couple of months, then in 100 of days. But now, what we see, if we're gonna analyze his statements, we will understand that he is doing everything in order to make people think that he is
not losing this battle.
not losing this battle. Now everyone he's blaming Biden, he's blaming Zelensky, he's blaming Putin, but not Trump. That's why Rubio made this statement. And so what we have seen the Easter ceasefire, which was represented by Russia. So that was the main idea, in order to make Russia understand that they shouldn't play with the United States, because United States can just withdraw. Is it real that they want to withdraw? It's hard to understand, because we are dealing with Trump, this person who has his own interests in these conflicts. I mean, his personal soul interests. I think that you understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that he's not ready to stop his role at this process, because he still thinks that he's the king of the United States. The United States is the greatest economy all around the world. That's why he's the king of the world.
Yeah, and besides, just adding to Russia's plan to make this Easter ceasefire, and it's essential to understand that this ceasefire is just not about to make the fire shut down, but to regroup and to prepare for further operations for offensive. And just like the French Foreign Minister Barrot has said, that it's like a PR stunt aiming at appeasing Trump, yeah, rather than a genuine step towards de-escalation.
I absolutely agree. We can see that Russians were resupplying during this so-called ceasefire. On several spans of the front line, there were still Russian attacks. Ukrainian president reported almost 3,000 attacks that happened on Sunday alone, which was crazy. We saw Russians building pontoons across several rivers. For example, in Donetsk Oblast, where they had problems crossing. And also, one thing that I find interesting is that basically this announcement of the ceasefire made by Putin, the main reason was to respond to Trump administration. To respond to the statement made by Marco Rubio and Keith Kellogg. Is it so?
Yeah, you are absolutely right. Because the main idea of Russia was to make Trump believe that they are really interested in negotiations and ceasefire. Like they made this statement and say, like, just stop. Look, we want to cease fire, but as Lavrov said, there are some troubles, and we all of us understand what troubles are. The main trouble is that they are not interested in this ceasefire. But they are still playing in this game about ceasefire. The main idea is that Russia wants to make USA and Europe take off some sanctions that they have imposed on their economy. Because if we'll look through the statistics, we'll understand that sanctions really make some damage for Russia's economy. That's the main idea. And now Putin see that there is the Trump who wants to cease fire, and why not to use him? Why not to try this chance to just rid of some sanctions in order to make the economy breathe deeper? Yeah. And then if sanctions will be cut off, Russia will invade one more time, but with the refreshed economy. That's the main idea. That's the main thing that our viewers need to understand, that Putin is unstoppable. The easiest way to stop this is to stop Putin, not Russia.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and yes, yeah, we just should remember about the sanctions when there was negotiations about ceasefire in the air, in the sea especially, and the main obligation for the USA was to deny all the sanctions, talking about the sea, so the Russia could just get their minerals, like for plants and etc., back without sanctions. And we just could remind about Prime Minister of Hungary, Orban, who just denied to accept new sanctions about Russians' minerals and all the sanctions. And it was also part of the game, just which aims to make Europe also believe that Putin also wants de-escalation. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. We all know, as Ukrainians, we all understand that you cannot trust Putin at all. Like, I think there is no Ukrainian who doesn't understand this. But unfortunately, it's not the case for our partners and friends. But one thing I would like you, my friends, to confirm or disprove, because several different experts are saying that Russia is basically running out of time and Russia will be facing several critical situations already next year, 2026, in terms of artillery, in terms of finances, because at this very point we know that Russia is spending approximately 1/3 of its budget on the war. And next year, they will cross the mark of 50%, which is considered a critical point. Can you confirm this or disprove this?
This is a very hard question, first of all, because we need to understand that we are dealing with the great country which was present at G7 before the annexation of Crimean Peninsula.
Yeah, it was G8 before they invaded. Now it's
Yeah,
G7.
sorry, things. To destroy Russia's economy, it's the complicated question. First of all, we need to understand of what Russia's economy consists of. The main thing is the energy supplies, energy resources, which they are selling all over the world. Sanctions have cut Russia's energy
ties with Europe, especially, and with the United States. But we also have India and China, who just not seeking down their just usage of Russian energy supplies, but only growing and growing and growing. So it's a problem.
Yeah, this is the first thing. The next thing, as my colleague have mentioned, that we have China. China now is using Russia as the energy base, as the resources base, and in order to destroy Russia's economy, we need to destroy its ties with China. It's the second one. The third one, we are living in the world where every country is tied with each other. And that's why we need to remember that Russia has close relationships with Kazakhstan, with Azerbaijan, and with Iran.
With Iran, with North Korea.
No, North Korea, not that style, but I mean, if China will cut some supplies with Russia, they will supply other countries through Azerbaijan, as they are doing now through the Azerbaijan oil company called SOCAR. So I don't think that Russia's economy will destroy the next year, but if it won't be the ceasefire, the battleground, the economy will be doing very bad. And I can give you some points in order how to understand that the economy is doing very bad. First thing, and so, I mean, the most fantastic one, when the Russia's economy will be destroyed, the first thing that we will see that China will be interested in buying or annexing some eastern Russian regions. Because when Russia existed, the country, it's okay. for China. Yeah, they're taking some resources, energy supplies, and others. But when its economy will be destroyed, the country also will be destroyed. And that's why China will use at this time in order to get some regions that are full of resources that they really need. That's the first mark, and it's like the largest one. If you will see that China is interested in eastern regions, you can understand that Russia, goodbye. The second one, it's the lack of the people resources at the front line. I will explain. Now, Russia, in fact, is buying its mobilization resources. If we look through the timeline, we'll see that in some regions of Russia, especially in Moscow, in Petersburg, and in others, they are paying more and more for conscripts whom they are mobilizing for war. It was starting from 1 million rubles, yeah,
Yeah.
then it was 2 million. Now we have seen the new that in the Saratovsk region, they are paying approximately 4.5 million rubles for the conscript. It's a lot. It's for Russia's economy. It's a great number, and through this we can understand that people are not interested in war as for the like the patriots, yeah, like the defenders of their country. They're just interested in money. And Vladimir Putin and I mean the government, they are making a lot of requests for manpower in different regions. Those regions can't mobilize them. That's why they're starting to pay more. And the more they pay, the more budget hole is getting, and the worse is situation with the economy.
Yes, and we just talked about the economy and for these conscripts for manpower. And also we should mention that the vehicles, the tanks, the artillery systems are also just smashing down. And we just believe our intelligence service saying that in 2026, 2027, that there will be a period when the armor, the vehicles will be just for so little amount that Russia will not be able to make the such a massive offensive operations. So now, as we can see, just the latest news about some assault consisting of 40 vehicles and approximately 340 men, and it's like a great example. So that Russia now is trying to get as much as they can because they understand that in the nearest future they won't be able to gain all these vehicles, all these people around, and all the defense industry is not going to work so well as it works now.
Yeah, I completely agree on that. Plus, I believe that Russians, I'm talking about the Russian elite, the Kremlin, I believe that they already understand and they probably calculated as well that basically a majority of their personnel will not see those money because they will die. According to Russia, according to Kremlin's philosophy, basically everybody must die. I wanted to ask you this. Do you believe that Russia is losing the war of attrition?
Losing the war on the battlefield?
Does Russia lose the war of attrition?
Um, I don't think so, frankly speaking. Because first of all, that we need to understand that Russia now they are mobilizing their resources, still doing this. They are building up their military complex, still doing this. They have a great propaganda and other things that were written in a Gerasimov strategy, and they are still doing this. So that's why I don't think that Russia is attritioning now. I think that it's like just a period uh, before they will mobilize all resources that they have. Because now Ukraine, we are mobilizing all our resources, which is possible. Yeah, Russia, they are just in the middle position. The first position, it was at the start of the full-scale invasion when they were saying that it's not the war. Yeah, when they think that it's gonna be easy for them. The second position, the middle position, is now when they understand that they have stuck in Ukraine, that they are wasting money, they are wasting manpower, they are wasting uh, vehicles and others, and they already have some problems, and they already had some problems on the battlefield. If we are talking about Kherson region, about Kharkiv region, about Kursk region, about
Pokrovsk region,
yeah,
and
like kinda, yeah. So that's the main idea, and there is the third position, the third station. I mean, when Russia will mobilize all their resources, when they will mobilize every conscript, when they will mobilize civilian vehicles, and when they mobilize their whole economy. And of course, for Ukraine, it's going to be very hard uh, to protect our territories because Russia is much more bigger.
Do you
Especially,
think?
yeah,
Yeah. Please go on.
yeah, you can.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, do you think this is possible? Because generally speaking, if Putin really wanted to finish war like as fast as possible, like Russian propagandists say that Russia is not fighting at full power right now, but he would basically do that in 2023, or am I wrong?
You're right. Uh, but he didn't think that Ukraine will do our best in order to keep their ground, keep our positions, which are keeping now. 4 years of war, it's a lot. It's kind of a lot. You remember how long was the Second World Wide War? And now it's the fraction periods when or we are ending the war or we will fight as long as possible and use all resources which are available. If Putin, as you see, he's kind of ready to stop for a couple of years, maybe for 10. I don't think about 10 years because I believe that he won't live that long. Okay, a couple of years in order to refresh his economy,
in order to regroup all these troops and to make some just especially about talking about defense industry, just as you know, the North Korea, the Iran, just are supplying them, especially North Korea, just as far as I know, for that period of time 6 factories are working for the ammunition for the artillery shells. And it seems evident that Russia, if they just decided to to ceasefire, just to make a sip of air, like in their lungs and the lungs of the economy and their army. So they are doing it in order to reestablish their military economy and to just get to the attention all their failures that were done during this war.
so we are or we will stop or we will continue. Putin is ready to stop, but for a couple of years. and also only on his rules. You see that he wants to keep 5 regions. He wants to keep Zaporizhia region. He wants to keep Kherson region, especially. You know why? Because after a couple of years, if the full scale will burst out, they will capture Odessa like in month.
Yeah, I agree on that. And speaking of ceasefire, I would like to return to, not like I would like to return to the Trump, because I really wish there was a day when I would not like hear or talk about him, or read about him. But anyways, recently journalists asked Trump whether he would recognize Crimea as part of the Russian territory. And Trump did what he always does when journalists ask him inconvenient questions. He evaded answering this question, basically. In your opinion, is it possible?
Frankly speaking, not.
Oh
And
yes, oh yes. Yeah, you see this. This is the very hard question. Also, I'm repeating this phrase during our stream. Trump is ready to sell Crimean Peninsula to Putin. Yeah. Why I'm talking about sell, because I before have mentioned that USA is interested in restoring business ties with Russia, not just simple ties. So of course Trump thinks that to give Crimea Peninsula it's okay because we have lost it in 2014. It's 11 years without Crimea, and it's okay. Yeah. So Trump is ready. That's 100%. Ukrainians are not ready from one hand, and are ready in some cases from the another hand, because everyone in Ukraine, they are living without Crimean Peninsula for 11 years. Our kids who were born in 2014 didn't remember the Crimean Peninsula as the part of the independent Ukraine. That's why if I was a president and I have the draft of the negotiation document on my table where I am giving Crimea to Russia, and that was the only region that we will give them, I will be thinking a lot of time. But this is still Ukrainians' territory. We were fighting for this territory almost 11 years. That's why it's hard to predict something about Crimea Peninsula. But if it's gonna be negotiation, I think that or Crimean Peninsula gonna be neither Ukrainian or Russia's territory, which I can imagine how it's gonna be done at the technical part of this process, or Peninsula will be controlled by Russia, which is also give us an opportunity in order to get it back um, with the military capabilities if the full-scale invasion will burst out one more time. Because if it's gonna be the only region that we will lost, our presence in Zaporizhia in Kherson region near the Crimea, using our long-range ballistic missiles and others types of weapon will give us an opportunity to cut the logistics for the peninsula.
yes, and just to conclude all this information, we just need not only to understand but to remember that for Trump, just given a Crimea, it just kind of given a piece of land for just doing Putin just a favor. But for us, for Ukrainians especially, it's a part of our sovereignty and of our nation as itself.
Also, we need to understand that if we will lose, uh, not that, if we will give Crimean Peninsula to Russia, it means that we will give Zaporizhia region, Donetsk region, and Luhansk region, because you have seen that they are building the railway from Voronezh through the Zaporizhia region to Crimean Peninsula. And of course, they won't stop their idea in order to tie Crimean Peninsula with Russia by the ground, because it was one of the aims for the full-scale invasion. And that's why if we will give them only just Crimea, it means that Putin have not achieved any of the aims of the full-scale invasion, which he just cannot take because it's not his interest, and he still thinks that he can stop Ukraine and capture Ukrainian on the battlefield, and that's why he'll just not won't be interested in this negotiation draft.
Yeah, I agree. One thing that people still don't really understand about Putin's war in Ukraine is that it's not just about war for Crimea or war for Donbass. Because Ukraine has amazing Carpathian mountains that serve as a perfect protection for the eastern part, western part of terrorist empire, and of course he would really like to have that as his first stage of invasion Europe, because then there's Baltic countries, then there's Eastern Germany, and soon, by the way, 9th of May, they will have Победобесие or Vict orgy in Russia, where there will be dancing, swimming in fountains, drunk, and doing all kinds of crazy things. And on this day, they usually say, мы можем повторить, we can repeat. Speaking about Russian revenge on Germany, but to Russia, it's not just revenge against a specific Nazi regime that stopped, ceased existing in 1945. To Russia, that is generally punishing all Europeans, because to Russians, they don't really distinguish between European nations. To them, all Europeans are Nazi. To them, all NATO countries are basically Nazi countries, and this is what they say every single day on the Russian TV, but they don't say that in English, of course. They only say that in Russian. I wanted to ask you this. Besides business interests, does current Trump's administration have any other ties to or relations to Russia? Because if we start walking into this land of conspiracy, and start speaking about those PP tapes and all kinds of compromise, then I would probably have to quit this channel. But is there any factic, any actual tie between, for example, Wheatkov and Russian oligarchs, or between Trump and Putin, of course, besides the fact that he went to Kremlin when there was still Soviet Union, and he basically couldn't do money as a businessman, as a capitalist businessman in the Soviet Union, but he still did somehow. Anyways, do you have any information on that?
Yeah, frankly speaking, we just support the idea that the main goal is to establish economic ties. Yes, exactly. And talking about the conspiracy and all this just analytics kind of, he just said so, he just looked at him like that, and there are some proofs that especially Vitkov about the about Trump Jr. and all this kind of most of U.S. administration we're having not only economic ties but just face-to-face ties, and they just dealt with each other just just before the Ukrainian-Russian war, just even before 214.
Yeah.
Sorry. So
Time to sleep.
yes,
Commander calling.
Yeah,
yes, really.
curfew.
So it's like our point of view, and we do not want people to believe in that conspiracy, in all the theories that there is some connection. You just need to understand. You do not understand.
But at the same time, we do not deny that this connection is. That's the politics, and we need to understand how it's working. The first thing that's as we have mentioned yet that Russia was present at G8. And so every G8 country was cooperating a lot between each other in different regions all over the world. And the easiest but the most interesting from our point of view is the example about Russia's and America's cooperation in Africa, which was uh, for about a couple years ago before full-scale invasion. We know, or if you don't know, we're gonna tell you about one person. His name is Eric Prince, and Eric Prince is the founder of the Blackwater organization, which was providing the security and
Missions, yes.
security missions, especially in Africa region. Also, Eric Prince was an informal Trump advisor from during his first term. So, Eric Prince has links with Russia and business contacts with Russia in Africa region. They were dealing with Wagner private military company in Central African Republic, where they together were securing the coal and gold mines. It was the cooperation between Russia's PMC and America's PMC. And the chief of the America's PMC was Trump's advisor during his first term. So when you ask, are there some ties, some connection between America and Russia? The answer is yes. But they are trying to hide it as best as they can. Also, when we are talking not about just Eric Prince and others, all of us know about Steve Witkoff. And Steve Witkoff also has some business ties with Russia. And not just with some secondary Russia's governments. No, he has business ties with Kirill Dmitriev. He is the head of the Russia's Direct Investment Fund, and also he is a close Putin ally, because, as we know, his wife has personal ties to Putin family. And also Dmitriev, by the way, is attempting to initiate dialogue with Trump's administration via Rick Garrison, and others when it was 2016. So Dmitriev and Vitkov, they were dealing with each other through the Saudi Arabia prince. They have common funds which were invested in each other's buildings in Saudi Arabia. Do they have business ties? Yes, they have. And what we see now that Vitkov is pushing Russian narratives in Western media. Yeah, he was talking a lot, representing that Russia have no intents to invade Europe. He has twice visited Moscow. He has met Vladimir Putin, and you know what? After the Friday, he gonna make his third trip to Russia. That's why. Do they have some ties? Yes, they have.
Absolutely. And I also remember, for example, Tucker Carlson advocating for the same. Sorry to interrupt. There is Brandon Mitchell in the chat, my good buddy. Hello, hello. I hope that you behave well and don't seduce too many people there. So one thing about Witko, of course, which is something so ridiculous, is that he literally wasn't even aware of the fact that Zaporizhia and Kherson are still under Ukraine's control, which was crazy. And speaking about the level of expertise of current representatives of the Trump administration, that is just so low level. Trump only last month learned that Russia actually kidnapped 20,000 Ukrainian children. Trump was surprised to know that there's actually Iranian drones flying over Ukraine, which was a big surprise to him all of a sudden. I don't know. I think that probably Hexet should include him in that signal group because, you know, sometimes they share some very, very important information. But
yeah, and we see just that we can see the situation where all this top establishment, especially Vitkov, especially Trump and others, just do not get aware of all the situation. So their situational awareness is a kind of zero, yes. And
yeah, look, they were repeating the same Russian propaganda about 5,000 Ukrainian troops completely surrounded in Kursk Oblast. That's, by the way, during that interesting period when Trump stopped the intel sharing with Ukraine and the defense aid as well. And what's the point? Trump has the biggest and strongest intelligence available today, which is CIA, which is American military intelligence. Why does he repeat the narratives of Putin instead of pushing his own narratives based on facts, based on reports of his own intelligence? Is it like his intelligence is not allowed to enter White House? I don't know. Can you explain this?
The main thing that you need to understand that problem is not in the intelligence service, in Pentagon, in CIA,
and bias.
or others. The main thing is Trump. So in this context, it's crucial to understand that Trump is not as a traditional statesman, but he's someone who is like still operating in the logic of his former reality TV show, The Apprentice. Yeah. So he's living in the world. He issues orders. He, sorry. He takes credits for wins. He assigns blame for failures and others and he avoids death. He delegates responsibilities and relies on his inner circle to brief him on key issues. And his inner circle is briefing him, but often very selectively. Trump is not reading
Those intelligence reports, yes.
thanks. Those intelligence reports. He's just talking with Vance, who is his vice president, J.D. Vance. He was talking with Vitkov. We don't know how their relations are now because we see that there are some problems. But he was listening to them. And if Vitkov supports Russia, like not Russia, he supports to restoring business ties with Russia. He'll tell the appropriate information to Trump, and then Trump will take his phone, open the X or not X. I don't remember what social media he's using now.
Social truth.
True social, yeah. True social.
Social, yeah.
Sorry. And just making a tweet. And then every analyzer all over the world, every mass media trying to understand and make, and trying to predict what's Trump's idea, what he's doing. The answer is that he is also the old dad, who is still acting at the show.
Analyzing Trump is a freaking torture. Seriously, it's
yeah.
I would not do that even if somebody paid me, but unfortunately, it's a torture, for me especially because I am a communication specialist. I have master's degree in communications actually, and when Trump is asked directly some direct question regarding, for example, what is your current progress about the Ukraine peace talks? What is the current programs? Where we are? Who will represent United States during the next negotiations? And instead of answering a simple freaking question, he starts repeating the same stuff that he learned from his communications advisor in 2024, that, well, this is so bad that the war started, but if I was a president, it would never... Oh my God, please learn something new. Holy crap. If I was a journalist, I would consider this a freaking insult, when you literally say same thing over and over again that everybody is already sick of hearing and never answer, such questions directly. That is something that, pisses me off so bad, not because I'm biased about Trump. It's because I'm biased as a communications person and as somebody with a journalist background. This is literally embarrassing. One thing though that I noticed is, they started closing the different programs and services that were aimed at combating disinformation in the United States. And recently, I believe Marco Rubio said that we are closing those services that were basically monitoring Russian bot farms, Russian fake media outlets that were massively created during the election campaign and things like that. Why do they do it? What's the point?
Just going not so far, they just blocked Radio Free USA. Yes, and just...
I can tell you one more thing. About a month ago or a couple months ago, I have read that Trump is stopping all cyber activity against Russia, which is unacceptable because cyber war is conducting every day against Russia, USA against Russia, Russia against USA, China against USA, USA against China. So, and you are saying that you are stopping your activity in order to give for Russian hackers and others an opportunity to sneak in your system in order to get something. That's why I think that they do not doing this in real time. I mean, in media, yes, they are stopping, but in reality, USA have the largest and the most powerful intelligence service all over the world. Maybe Chinese intelligence service can conquer over them. That's why I don't think that they really stop monitoring activity against Russia, because this is very stupid. For me, as the serviceman, when we need to understand, when we understand, yeah, that you need to do your routine to conduct your duties every day in order to protect your position, in order to make the armed forces function as uh, the whole body. You hear that United States is stopping some of their more monitoring activities, and you just don't understand because the hybrid warfare is conducted every day. That's why I just cannot believe that they are stopping this activity, because it's controversial for me. Is it true? I'll just take Lindsay Gover's photo and just blow my mind, really, because
Yeah, it's not like we can call them or like walk into like CIA or ANB and ask like, guys, is it for real?
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, but on the other hand, of course, when you hear such statements made on the national television in the United States, then you just sit down and think, like, what the hell is going on? Is this true? Or will he change his mind tomorrow? Or he's like playing 6D chess, or what the hell? That is why, it's very, very hard to give some kind of explanation to what he states, I don't remember any other leader of any other country being like that. That is why this is so embarrassing. Anyways, one thing I wanted to ask you about the Russian aggression. We've heard a lot of reports coming from German intelligence, coming from British, Danish, Estonian intelligence, Finnish intelligence as well, about the upcoming Russian invasion of Europe. And generally, there are also rumors that emerged in the community of different analysts and experts recently that Russia will try to test how the fifth article work in the real life, because maybe it doesn't, right? So Russia will try to test it apparently in the nearest future. Do you think such scenario is possible when Russia would try to provoke a NATO country?
Yes, just certainly, and as we just talked earlier, it just won't start after the ceasefire immediately in Ukraine, because we all understand that Russia's economy and Russia's defense industry and the Russians' manpower are just stuck, and it seems just evident that making some offensive operations, for example, using Belarus, or maybe just trying to capture Lithuania or Estonia or Latvia, is just kind of impossible for now. But today we are victims of such hybrid operations, starting all in Europe, and just to remember about just destroying the cables in the Baltic Sea, just to stop the internet connection and to stop the electricity supplies from I don't know exactly about from Sweden to Estonia or to Latvia, and it's a clear example of how Russia acts now and how it will just react in the next couple of years. For example, we're talking about this situation when the Latvia, Estonia, and Lithuania just they just did. Uh, just reject from the Russia's electricity system, just not for Russia, from the Soviet Union electricity system, and there was a problem because of the Kaliningrad, because it stays near and it's a military threat for the European Union and for NATO itself. And this operation was done in order to just slow down this process and to show the Europe that everything is not so simple as it is, and besides that Russia will use all the methods and all the capabilities to do so. For example, talking just about this situation, they used a Chinese ship, the Chinese commercial ship in the Baltic Sea, but the captain was Russian. And it's not ending on these operations. It's about cyber attacks, because the Europe is now struggling in election campaigns. For example, in Moldova, in Romania, there were elections, and especially in Romania, there will be elections in May. And we just can read a lot of news about cyber attacks, about trying to get the pro-Russian activity in their campaigns, and all these people, especially if we're talking about the people who are supporting the Russian ideas, the most evident one is Orban, and we can mention Fico, we can mention Georgescu, who is now arrested, but nevertheless, and all these people who are just trying to destroy Europe inside. So, for my point of view, it's the biggest problem for that time. And if you're talking about military aggression, the Europe, just its main priority is to maintain all this military aid and the supplies to Ukraine, so that our defenders could stop the aggression and could just get rid of all these Russian invaders. And it's the biggest priority. And the second priority is to secure themselves from the hybrid operations, which are also very dangerous for the European society and for its policy itself.
Yeah, absolutely. Hybrid aggression is probably very big at this point, a big threat for European countries specifically, because we can see a lot of marginal political movements that become more and more popular. And there's actually the risk that if European countries ramp up their military production and welfare for their citizens decreases, also, by the way, considering the European help for Ukraine that is supposed to increase. So if the welfare for the European citizens decreases, then the support for the marginal political movements like AfD in Germany, for example, will increase as well. And by the way, that is one very, very interesting indication and an example, I would say, of this enormous gap between European countries and terrorist federation, because imagine if a European country would wage a war like Russia in a different country, spending 1/3 of its budget every single year and burning its strategic savings on war, and without significant results, without capturing even a single major city for like 3 years or more. You can imagine what would happen to the leadership of this country during next elections if they survived until next elections. But in
Yeah.
Russia, it's not the case, because in Russia, people have no freedom of speech. They cannot go on the streets because they will be arrested and repressed otherwise.
Yeah, we are talking about dictators and democracy, yes, and
Yeah,
it's a big difference.
yeah, absolutely. Tell me this: how do you think? What is the biggest challenge for Putin right now in Ukraine? What is something that he's struggling over again and again? And what is his biggest vulnerability, maybe in terms of economical situation, maybe in terms of political status that Russia has right now? What is his biggest vulnerability at this point, from what you can say?
I can say that he wasn't expecting that Russian army will stuck in Ukraine that long, and this is the main problem of the whole Russia Federation, because they need to invest their money, invest their budgets, everything they have at this war, and this is still the problem because it's ruining every global strategy which was designed by Putin and his team. He always was presenting himself as the center of the Asia. He was trying to gain Ukraine and keep Kaliningrad in order to make Russia not just the Asian empire but also the uh, European and Asian empire. So like the greatest empire which is present at the Eurasia. Yeah, if we were reading Bzezhinsky, he was written that those who has influence over Europe and over Asia, he's controlling the world, and Putin largely understand this thing. The main Putin's vulnerability, I think, that is himself, because he's old. He has some problems with his health. We have seen it on different videos. But if you are expecting that Putin will die tomorrow and everything will ruin, you are wrong. Because now we see that he's using twins. Also, we had evidence that when Putin was at Kursk region, it wasn't Putin, it was his twin. That's why Putin can die, and some twins can conduct his duties like a long term, a couple of years or others. That's why the main thing on what Ukraine can influence it's Russia's economy. Yeah, because now the oil prices, they are
Decreasing.
decreasing. Yeah, Ukraine will. Okay, we had an opportunity to strike on oil mines and others like oil infrastructure in order to make Russia more vulnerable. And we still have an opportunity to destroy Russia's tanks, Russia's vehicle on the battleground, which is also now a great problem for them, because we have seen that now they have a lack of the armored personnel vehicles. They have a lack of
Or mortals, or artillery, exactly.
of mortars, of artillery, of MLRS systems.
Yes.
Their tank resources will short after a couple of years. They already using animals they already using Golf cars from China and others. So we see that their military industrial complex has a lot of problems already, and they need to restore it somehow. That's why I think that if Ukraine will be able to handle its position as long as possible, a year, 2 years, if it's gonna be needed, I think that after that time we will have a better negotiation field because Russia is running out of the resources, and this is true.
Yeah, I would like to check out some questions from our viewers. We have a question: Russia using donkeys in Ukraine. What animals would Russia use in the rest of Europe? Speaking of the preparing or upcoming Russian invasion of Europe, that again, so many countries are talking about, so many intelligence agencies are talking about. Considering that Russia is fighting over places like, I don't know, Kramatorsk direction or Izum direction, not only 3 years since the full-scale invasion, but since like 2014, 2015. Is there a possibility that Russia can physically invade and take over European countries, for example, like Baltic countries, using what they have, or do they stockpile ammunition and weaponry separately in order to make this invasion possible? How do you think?
Yeah, frankly speaking, we just consider the opinion that first of all, we just should understand the Article 5, and all these obligations of the European countries just need to be done in order to protect the countries that border with Russia. Yeah, it's a main reason because we understand that despite of this lack of vehicles, about lack of manpower and etc. in Russia, all these small countries like Estonia or Lithuania or just Finland, and it's another case, they just have so little army, and even their experience, even their trainings, they're just doing it a lot just for NATO, and it's not enough to stop Russia. And as Ukrainians, we understand that stopping Russia, it's about global efforts. It's not about the efforts of one country. Yes, our defenders are the best person in the world, and they just defend our territory just for their blood, for their lives, and we all just respect them. It's kind of the most important thing. But at the same time, without the support, without the aid, without all this ammunition, without the artillery shells, tanks, and so on and so on, we just could not fight with Russia.
Optimistically or pessimistically, no, let's say realistically, okay, how realistic is the situation when Trump would stop the military support to Ukraine? Because generally speaking, the military support that Ukraine keeps receiving nowadays is that remains of the military support that was allocated to Ukraine during the previous administration, right? And there were no new defense packages allocated by Congress in 2025, and the question is, will they even be allocated this year at all, right? How realistic is the situation when Ukraine, and will Ukraine be able to defend itself using only European provided weaponry and intelligence, for example?
You okay? First of all, I want to answer one question from the chat. One person said, "Whatever happened to General Surovikin?" I will tell you that everything is okay. Now he's representing the African core, Russia's African core. So with Surovikin, everything is okay. Don't be worried. And back to your question. We have conducted the research, and we find out that Europe is enlarging the producement of the artillery shells, and for 2026 and 27, they will produce twice more than they are producing now. That's why if they will supply Ukraine better, if they will give more of these artillery shells for Ukraine, and plus Ukrainians producement of the 152, 122 artillery shells, millimeters, I mean. Uh, we will have an opportunity to fire uh, to fire shells as Russia fires a day. So without USA, it's gonna be very hard for Ukraine. But it's gonna be possible because Europe, if they will want, they will be able to supply us on this level which we have now. Because now you see that America is not investigating about some new aid packages that they can supply for Ukraine. Every American vehicle, every American shell, every American Patriot system which we have gain for the last time, we are gaining through the military package which was signed by the previous administration. That's why we should be mentally prepared that we will be on our own with Russia, and maybe Russia is still waiting for these moments, and that's why we believe that our administration, that our Minister of Foreign Affairs, doing their best in order to make Europe understand that they need to participate as much as possible in enlarging the Ukrainians' defenders' capabilities, because now they are our only biggest partner who is supplying us with the military resources. Okay, so that's the main thing that we need to understand. That the close partnership with Europe is the main Ukraine's objective on the international arena. And also, if you will ask if Trump will withdraw from the negotiation process, and maybe he will take the Ukrainians apart and will help us, will supply us. It's also a very hard question, because when Rubio is talking that uh, United States can withdraw, they really can withdraw. And you need to remember that Rubio is not the Ukrainians' farm. Yeah, he is a government who thinks that the main threat is China. He just understands that United States should make a tougher stand over Moscow, but he don't think that they should invest and help Ukraine as much as possible, because he also thinks that Russia's and Ukrainian war, it's the first of all the Europeans and Ukrainians war.
Yeah, and on some level, I of course can also understand that, because Europe, considering that Europe has annual GDP that is combined approximately 20 times larger than in Russia, and at the same time, European countries are only now facing with this extreme fear the possibility of Russian invasion, and they understand that it will be really, really tough to withstand. Considering this, I also partially agree that Europe should have probably be more prepared and more realistic towards the threats. But on the other hand, of course, I explain it this way, that in European countries, there are all sorts of reforms, social programs, development aimed at increasing the welfare of European citizens instead of building tanks. At the same time, in Russia, it's vice versa. In Russia, it's basically they don't care about heating in Russian schools. They don't care about renovations in Russian hospitals and clinics, but they have plenty of tanks. They have new hypersonic missiles and things like that. Am I right, or there is a different reason to such a big difference between European countries and their readiness to fight, and Russia with absolutely zero freedoms, zero social benefits and social programs, but with plenty of weaponry?
Yes, we totally agree with your statement, and we just totally accept this idea that Europeans are just aiming to fund their societies, to find their civilians, in order just to make them wealthier and happier, and instead of Russia, who is trying to build its own defense industry in the best way, and not only talking about the defense industry, but talking about the police, about all these agencies like FSB, like GRU, and etc. And yes, it's true, really. And when we're talking about EU, I think that it's time for European countries and for the European citizens to realize that being well, it's yes, it's important. But at the same time, if we are not paying attention for our military, for our army, there will be a danger of being just under pressure of such dictators as Putin, as Kim Jong-un, and etc. So there's always a threat from a dictators that should be taken into consideration by not only Europeans but for all over the world. Yes, and
Absolutely.
we see that understandment, and when we are talking about defense companies in Europe, especially about German Rheinmetall, about British biosystems, about Denmark, NAMO, about all other from Poland, about from Italy and other countries. Yes, they do, but at the same time, there is an issue, as I already mentioned before, with all these propagandists like Orban, like other just Putin's friends who are trying to distract, to eliminate all these initiatives like the Kaya Kalas initiative for artillery shells. So that I can conclude that are 2 points: to try to reinvest in their army that just Europeans are now doing, and just to take care of all that Fico, Orban, and other people in order not to make them so influential and important in decision-making process for European and for its defense.
Yeah, I agree. And Fico, by the way, will attend the Vict orgy in Russia on 9th of May. Apparently together with Vucic, president of Serbia. Did you research the situation in Serbia, by the way? Because on one hand, we have this, brotherhood, right, with Russia. Russia that was sending Russian Igor Girkin Strelkovs during the war in former Yugoslavia, supporting Serbian Chetniks. on the other hand, we have this conflict of interests with the European Union. What is the current situation there? Will Serbia be more supportive towards Ukraine or not? Because the reason I'm asking this, 2014, during the Revolution of Dignity, we were talking with the guys from Svoboda Party. Those are like Ukrainian conservatives. And they say it was weeks before the Russian annexation of Crimea began. And the guys were talking and they said, well, we should unite with countries like Baltic states, with Serbs, with all the Slavic countries in order to fight back Russia, because Russians are not Slavs. And I asked a simple question. In case there's a war between Russia and Ukraine, whom will Serbia support? Right? And this is the question I'm asking myself even today, because Serbia, as part of Europe, does it incline more towards supporting Ukraine or Russia? What do you think?
I think that according to the Serbian governments, they support Russia. But looking through the geographical position, that they are surrounded by the European countries and they are at the center of the Europe, and Serbia has a lack of their own resources in order to sell them and invest in their economy. All logistics and trading base are going through Europe. They are doing what Europe needs. I mean, like, they are not representing their support for Russia, because Serbia is much more weaker than Hungary, and it's harder for them in order to show their real intentions. But frankly speaking, if we're gonna monitor the social mind in Serbia, I can tell you that people more and more supporting the European way of developing their country. So indicator is really good, but for a pity in the real politics, people not always have influence over the governments and the pollings and like politics debates. That's how it was in Bulgaria, in Romania, and others. Russian proxy political forces are still fighting to control the governments in the Eastern Europe, because it's, as I have mentioned yet, a part of the Russian proxy influence in order to be represented in Europe and to be the European and Asia-Europe empire.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, actually, because I've seen quite a few commentaries on my channel, for example, from people living in Serbia with, fully supporting Ukraine. And by the way, here we even have a commentary from Artyom, who says, I'm Russian and I fully support Ukraine. Putin has to be stopped. We have, of course, Russian supporters as well. And we have people like volunteers fighting in the Russian Voluntary Corps or Legion Freedom for Russia, Siberian Battalion fighting for Ukraine, basically. A lot of them have also Ukrainian citizenship. But regarding Serbia, that is something that still boggles me. What will be the result? What will be the choice? And will we see Vucic dancing Kalinka Malinka on the Red Square on 9th of May?
You see that the main thing that's you need to understand that sometimes you think you need to analyze publicity and the governments separately, because Vucic will dance Kalinka Kalinka, but Serbian people still will support Ukrainian in some cases. The same, by the way, situation is in Belarus. We know who is Lukashenko, we know his real thoughts, but in Ukraine they have a couple of battalions which consists of the Belarus who fighting for Ukrainians' freedom and freedom of Belarus in the future.
Yes, and
Yeah.
to strengthen all these arguments, just an interesting fact that in 2024 there was an article from Financial Times saying that Serbia just sent Ukraine for the period of the start of the full-scale invasion just 800,000 artillery shells, and it's also just shows that all these politicians can act as they do, but the real situation is just not that good for Russia, and not that bad for us. And for example, we can just grab the Bulgaria, and as we know, in Bulgaria, there's just quite also an influence of Russian parties. But at the same time, their government just also send us some armored fighting vehicles and other military help, despite all these debates between pro-Russian parties and the government.
Yeah, I agree. My dear friends, I think we will be calling this a night. Dear chat, dear viewers, dear family, thank you so much for your absolutely amazing questions. Big thanks to our moderators, to our members who help to keep this channel running. And of course, big thanks to you, my dear friends. It was a privilege to have you on my channel. I'm your big fan and subscriber from for a while already. And if you want to be if you want to have some kind of objective understanding of reality, you gotta always listen and read smarter people. That is why I'm following you guys. Is there anything you would like to say to our viewers?
First of all, I want to say that you English-speaking audience is very important for Ukrainian in order to keep us have an opportunity to fight for our freedom. And you, Starsky, is a real great sense of the pro-Ukrainian and pro-European public thoughts. You're concentrating them, and that's why I want to thank you. And I want to tell you publicity. I was I was reading your comments all this time, and sometimes I see that you have the lack of information about the Ukrainian things, about things in Russia. That's why I want to tell you that watch Starsky as much as you can in order to understand better things. That's the first. And the second one, if you're from Europe, thank you for your support, and please still help Ukraine because you are our closest ally. If you are from Britain or if you are from America, thanks for your protests against Trump. Also, it was written in the comments because in such a way you're also expressing your feelings about these geopolitics, foreign affairs, which is led by Trump and others. And if you're from Australia, India, or other parts of the world, we also tell you thank you that you're interested in Ukrainian politics and you're still supporting us in that way that you can.
Yeah, we really appreciate your support, your attention, and also again, thank you, Mr. Starsky, for that great opportunity to just share our thoughts with the community, with the pro-Ukrainian, with the anti-Trump, with the pro-European position. Yeah, so thank you. Slava Ukraini!
Героям слава. Thank you so much, my dear friends, my dear viewers, dear family, dear friends in the chat. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Be safe.